Greetings, everyone. Welcome to City Lights Live, the online edition of the City Lights events calendar. I'm your host, Peter Maravellis, and tonight we are delighted to welcome back into the virtual house Joseph Lease, our dear friend, celebrating the publication of a new collection of poetry. It's titled Fire Season and is published by Chax Press. A new collection by Joseph is always an event in and of itself. We are especially honored to host him at this particular junction in time, as his work speaks to us in a very, very deep way of the moment that we live in. So before we begin, of course, as is customary at the outset of each event, I'd like to acknowledge that we are beaming to you from the unceded ancestral homelands of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, also known as the San Francisco Bay Area. We would like to take this moment to offer respect to those who have come before us as stewards of the land. So we've had the great pleasure of hosting Joseph Lease numerous times since the publication of his first book. He's the author of several acclaimed poetry collections. These include The Body Ghost, Testify, Broken World, and Human Rights. His work has been anthologized in Postmodern American Poetry, the Norton Anthology. Joseph is the recipient of the Academy of American Poets Prize, as well as grants and awards in poetry and poetics from Columbia University, Harvard University, Brown, amongst others. His work has been featured on NPR and in many publications. Joseph teaches writing and literature at the California College of the Arts, where he's been a faculty member for more than 2 decades. He's also a member of the advisory board of the Princeton Encyclopedia of Poetry and Poetics, makes his home here in the Bay Area with his partner, the poet Donna Delaperriere. We will be posting links in the chat function of your Zoom dashboard with which you may purchase copies of Fire Season and other titles by Joseph. So please join us now in offering a warm welcome. Joseph, it's great to be here with you in your living room.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's an absolute joy to be back at City Lights in my living room and back at City Lights. And, you know, I think the first time I was going to read at City Lights, I told a friend and how much I was excited, you know, how excited I was about it. And my friend said, yeah, you're going to be reading in a cathedral tonight, even though I'm in my living room.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on this very stellar new collection. And I know how much of you goes into such a project. So it must be really gratifying to finally see it in print.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm very, very, very grateful to Chax Press, Charles Alexander, who I believe did an absolutely great job designing the book. I think it's really beautiful. I think it's my most beautiful book. I feel like Charles really gave a lot of thought and heart and soul to the connection between the poems and how the book should look, between the texts and the whole of the book. And I'm just, yeah, really excited about that.
Yeah. Since I first met you, you've always shown an interest in how we may live an ethical life, a life that's informed by humanist values, a life informed by a sensitivity and empathy to the world around us, and especially in times of crisis, such as the one that we're currently in. So I think your new book, Fire Season, really follows suit with the rest of your oeuvre. And of course, the world is a very different place since your last collection. I mean, the environmental catastrophe that we face has accelerated. Fire Season reads like very much a book of our time, a kind of a canticle to kind of accompany the trauma of the moment, which I think you really so eloquently capture. But the work in the book is also at once very personal. And I would like to talk about that in a moment, but I was hoping we begin tonight with you reading some excerpts from the new book. But, you know, I think you had something else that you also wanted to read.
Yeah, thanks, Peter. Thank you so much. And thanks for being here, everybody. It's great to see so many of you, and it's great to see you, and thank you for coming. I'm going to just start with a poem from The Body Ghost, just as a kind of, I don't know, it's not a sound check, but it's a way of centering us together in a ritual, and the poem is called Ritual. Ritual. The light that's burning every second now, say moon, say ink, say stay in love, and masks our eyes. Sorry, this is why I do this poem first. The light that's burning every second now, say moon, say ink, say stay in love, and eyes are masks, and masks are eyes. Say moon, say ink, say stay in love. Once more I smell the dew and rain, the light that's burning everything. The elegies are taking off their clothes. Say moon, say ink, say stay in love. And some guy screams on Christmas Eve, his eyes like rain, his face like ice, and weave a circle round him thrice. We drink to death, we smear the sky, soft wind, the soul beneath the soul, beneath the soul. He fell apart, he rained, he flew, he sang, and some guy screams on Christmas Eve. We drink to death, we smear the dark, blue wind, his stain of faded stormlight in my mouth. And now I'm going to read Fire Season. I wanted to mention, before I start, the poems in Fire, it's just a cut 2 sentences as a kind of, I don't know, context. The poems in Fire Season try to confront global boiling. That is my preferred term, as it is the preferred term of the head of the United Nations. The poems in Fire Season try to confront global boiling and ecocide as a way of life, a way of learning to die, a way of witnessing and acknowledging personal and collective responsibility, a way of mourning and a way of going on. Fire Season includes 2 elegies, Riding Death and Falling, which connect the loss of a parent to political and planetary loss. And I will start by reading Falling, which is for my mother. Falling. So yes, I want to tell your story. I have to make it up. You tried to be joy. Did you tell me your story? We forgot to see. That's part of it. You said cream light, cream thick purple clouds, the end of the world maybe. Fire clouds, we killed the animals. Fire clouds, extinction. Once when some child could draw your voice. My mother turns to paper, dying on the kitchen floor. Mom, the animals are dead, are dying. Mom, did I try? My mother's face is gone, so what is real? Maybe sunlight, my mother's face. We touch the gone voice bent in half, and Mom is green, and she is dead, and she is where, oh where? She was the search for God, for love, the summer wind, the starry night. And next is Now What? Or Now What? As I prefer to call it, Now What? And the snow fell, and the passing clouds, and the windows and doors, and the snow fell, and we answered. Oh, what can you? What are you? Something was happening. Night fell and broke in a million pieces. The soft wind, the soft air, night fell and broke. And the world fell. I walked in the trees, in the shadows of the trees. The world flew. The world flew away like light. There are 2 poems at the end of the book that both take their titles from beautiful and notorious prog rock songs. So this is the first of them. I'm not trying to really engage with the poems with the songs that much. I'm just stealing the titles, which I love and have loved since I was like I don't know, 14 or 15, whenever Another Green World came out. Anyway, so this is an Eno song. This is a poem named after an Eno song. Everything merges with the night. It's a dream of the end, the mountain, the sun, but the world is burning. I don't care what I know. I feel so sick. The Puritan diaries, American self. Maybe I'm a liar, half joke, half damage. Rain pouring down, the big branches move, the secrets in the gutters, the dream death, The corpse gives commands. We stay inside our city, cold night, a picture of a thought, a garden, skyscrapers, empty tombs, soul of bullets. I was exploding. Everything's corpse light. My mother won't speak. I tried to be joy, walking home. Cold night, red frozen sky. Spin the night. Spin the night. Will we kill the world? The sky is fire. Shed your skin. Did we kill the world? Will we kill the world? Look, green water. And this is Cracked Actor. This is the Bowie song, Cracked Actor. The soul was a spy. The soul was a forest. The soul was a shipwreck. The soul was a mouth. Does God love me? The new warning is fire in your face. System collapse. I thought I had a future. I want joy. I taste poison. I am the ghost of I, etc. I was a fool. I had a plan, and water was my dirty name. I'm writing inside death. I'm in the room. In the sweet exhale of July, where dead zones pock the mind, just west of the end of the world, where the local lost boy nailed dogs to the walls of his shack, where the headless ghost dogs run through the waste, and walls of flame and walls of flame. You spin the spin, you go insane, you eat the light, you eat the pain. Fire tsunami, birds on fire. Just breathe night forever. Just say, drop your eyes right here. Quick, learn to die. The animals are dead or dying. Mom, you read the books to me and I tried. My legs are trembling, my hands are trembling. Believe me, don't believe me, I don't care. I was the future, says the nothing man. I was the future for a day or two. The next poem is called In a Field. It's a prose block in couplets. I changed the distant language of the rain, the brown and red leaves in the autumn gray. I changed the distant language of the rain, the brown and red leaves in the autumn gray. I wrote the splintered aspect in the wind. I wrote the splintered aspect in my mind. I wore the rain that rose and fell like light. I wore the snow that piled up by the gate. I wrote the secret number on my hand. I write the secret number in my eye. I thought the thought of every thought but one. I dreamed the dream that dropped me in the sun. I'm going to close this set with a poem called Riding Death. It's about the last weeks and days and hours of my father's life. Riding Death. He was wild, a little wild. He's dying. You can't exhale. He's dying. He's asking why you love him. Riding Death. Kisses that we share across the sky. He is the drunk lane, the mayor, drunk lake, drunk in the lake. He's so tired and he can't what? My father just feels Sidney Bechet, Hart Crane, Crazy Cat. Now he doesn't have any. He gives life, kisses that we share across the sky, riding death. The book will save the book. Oil will kill the world. He's just trying to see, pay attention. He said, joy. He said, feel this blue-green voice. He said, violet blue wind pushes river light, birches, riding death. He's dying in a town full of rabbits. He's dying lying on the couch, riding death. He hates sentimental slop. Hold his hand. He's from Coney Island. He's tougher than you. He says, when I squeeze your hand, I'm squeezing her hand. His mother in the room. His mother's me. Tell him, your mother loves you, riding death. Branches, paradise, are you blue? Are you green? Are you fire? Are you gold? Have you come? Have you come to sing to me, riding death? Drunk like coins, Our lifestyle is wrecking the planet, for Christ's sake. She's drunk like a gold coin. He's drunk like a gold coin. The TV says the TV. The farmers are farmers. Corporations eat them. Rabbits are perfect, riding death. Ice in the river, blue night comes. No one. Nobody dies. Nobody loses, riding death. Where is the distance? Where are the gym shoes? Where are the toenails? Where is the pain? Where are the toenails? Please stop this screaming. Please breathe my news flash. My eyes don't fit. Riding death. Joy could. Blue fire, torn blue, you, dear one, dear smart, shining you, dear you, my father's what? My father's rain becoming rain, riding death. Soft wind like a road. Done. I wrote done. I tried to write don't. Don't. So.
Wow, thank you for that, Joseph. I was very interested in your choice of that detail of the painting, The Fate of the Animals by Franz Marc for the book cover.
Yeah.
Would you talk a little bit about it? Because it really ties in importantly into the work.
Well, thank you. I love the painting, first of all. I mean, I love Franz Marc. I love Paul Klee. I did read online, as my students would say. I read in the wiki that the painting, weirdly, uncannily, and appropriately, was damaged in a fire. If this is just an anecdote that I got from Wikipedia, but I want to believe it. The painting was damaged in a fire. Of course, the painting depicts a fire, a horrifying, apocalyptic fire that's killing the animals. And the painting was damaged, and Franz Marc did not, I don't know whether you say complete it, but Paul Klee completed it or repaired it. And he painted sort of I guess it's the left side of the painting. It's not even half the painting. It's like maybe the left, I don't know, third or quarter. And what they say is that because Marc's colors are so magical and just uncanny, and of course Klee is an amazing colorist too, as you all know, but Klee did not want to try to create Marc's colors himself. So he painted the part that he had to repaint in blacks and browns and dark somber grays. And so the painting has this weird sort of haunting going on in it. But, you know, the most important thing about the painting for me, in addition to just that Franz Marc can make it so, I just keep thinking the word uncanny. He makes it so visionary, so transformative, is the death of the animals. And I feel like one of the things, I mean, obviously I've been, like everybody, I know, like everybody, I've been moved and horrified and disturbed beyond words by the various fires. I mean, obviously the fires in California, I've been, the fires in Siberia, the fires everywhere, the fires in Greece, the fires in Australia. And I remember reading a lot about some of those really bad Australian fires a couple of years ago, and how many animals were killed in those fires. And we don't even really, except the occasional article in The Guardian, we don't even really acknowledge the deaths of animals in all of this. And I think that that's very much a piece with our continued destruction, our continued choices that result in the destruction of animal habitats. And and of course, industrial farming, and which is, sort of, I mean, I am not a virtuous person. Please don't anyone think I'm a virtuous person. I've stopped eating mammals, but that's the best I can do. I eat birds, every bird I can find. I eat fishes, every fish I can find. But I think that my participation in our society, in the society that in many ways I still love, it's given me everything that I've ever loved. It's gave me, Sidney Bechet, Hart Crane, Crazy Cat. Oh, wait, that's my dad. But you know what I mean? It's given me so much beauty, so much pop, so much genius. And at the same time, I mean, Donna we were on the couch just a little while ago, and she was just, I don't know, scrolling around, seeing something, and she just was like, oh, it's she came upon a picture of a cow being slaughtered. And, for 90% of my life or more, I ate cows all the time. I ate as many cows as I could get. And it's so horrible to think about, how we create the meat that we eat. And so all of this is part of the same consciousness or lack of consciousness, but it is a consciousness. It's an ideological circuit. It's an ideological feedback loop, And so I think that for me, and I hope for some others, the cover will be a kind of enactment and embodiment of that crazy, coming into awareness when we start to recognize that we don't quite want to recognize, ecocide, and that it's yes, global heating or global boiling, if you want, is disastrous for human beings. It could mean the end, as we all know, it could mean the end of human civilization, but it's also what we're doing to the planet is disastrous for animals too. It's not just, it's like, oh, well, after we're all gone, the cockroaches and will flourish. There will be animals that will survive us, but it's astonishing what we do. So that has become, and also the sense of my mother and the sense of my father and my childhood and my own sort of writing this book has brought me sort of face to face with my own sort of childhood love of animals, which is still going on. I mean, we love cats. We love all the cats everywhere, So anyway, I'll pause there.
Yeah. Well, I think this dovetails really nicely. I wanted to talk a little bit about how you merge the personal with the external, the larger world issues such as environmental devastation, the rise of fascism. And it seems you're drawing connections between what is purely personal emotional cataclysm and the larger devastations in our midst. If you could talk a little about that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, no, that's absolutely accurate. And I saw it. I mean, I think I was doing that in a way in The Body Ghost and in a way in Broken World even, but I mean, the title Broken World is something, but I've been doing it. What did you say, Donna, when you saw that picture? You said something, because the cow was hanging upside down. I think you said humans are so horrible, or humans are horrible. It's something you've said many times. And I suddenly thought, that's my next book. That's going to be the title of my next book, right? Humans are so horrible. But I think I talked a little bit about environmental catastrophe and just a moment ago, and I want to maybe talk a little bit about the personal side of it. Obviously, the personal is political, and like the cracked actor, like that title, I was the future, says the nothing man. I mean, that idea that we're all actors, that's what American individualism does, that's what romanticism does, that's what selfhood does, that's what capitalism does. We're actors, we're performers, we're selling our brands, we're promoting our voices, whatever. and we're all like really messed up actors. We're all like, you know, has been stars in an industry that's going out of, you know, rapidly going down the tubes. And I think the consciousness that comes with that, the sort of double consciousness, like, or triple or quadruple consciousness, like, I'm broken and I know I'm broken, so I want you to give me credit for knowing I'm broken. But don't give me credit because A, you know you're broken, so give yourself some credit. But B, we're all broken and I don't know a way out of this. But I guess I still believe in a sort of, I see Ben Goodman up in the corner there. Hi, Ben. He went to, he and I went to Columbia together, and in a sort of good old, you know, great books kind of way, I still believe that, you know, if the unexamined life is not worth living, the more we examine life, the more possibility there might be. Oh, there's Mark Statman too, who also went to Columbia, of course. Hey, Mark. But the more possibility there might be for some kind of change, or if not change, at least responsibility, accountability, reckoning, and continuity. And Greta says very wonderfully in her TED talk, you know, I'm not going to talk about hope. I'm not going to talk about hope. She says, when there's action, there'll be plenty of hope. But until there's action, I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to rally us by talking about hope, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Um, you know, there's such,
Individuality as a political mechanism,
yeah,
individuality as a technology of capitalism and of American individualism.
yeah, yeah. You know, I wanted to bring up Walter Benjamin because he, when we've had conversations in the past, he always keeps coming up, and whenever every new book, you know, the angel of history, that concept, you know, always emerges for me. And do you have a relationship to that? I mean, do you feel like,
Yeah, no, I still read it. I actually could open it on the screen now because we talked about talking about it. I have it in the Harvard translation, but the book that I still feel closest to the translation is the Shockin, is the old Illuminations that I read when I was in college.
yeah.
Um, and I have,
For those who don't know, just to, so Angel of History was actually a painting by Paul Klee, and Benjamin incorporated it into this theory that he had about called the Angel of History, which is a kind of a melancholic view of the historical process and the
yes,
way that there's this sort of unceasing kind of cycle of
yes.
despair that we
It's a
experience.
storm. It's a
Yeah.
storm. Benjamin describes it as a storm that is continuously and continually piling wreckage at the feet of the new angel. It's Klee's painting is called Angelus Novus, and the angel of history is the new angel, like the belated angel, the angel who comes too late. And the angel wants to return, to go back to the past, wants to heal, wants to give us an understanding of what, because Benjamin links this very much to class consciousness and to the class struggle and to the idea that, you know, if we're going to understand history, if we're going to understand our present lives, we have to understand history, and we have to understand how we're agents or subjects of history, of historical processes. And anyway, so the angel wants to give us this and feel it themselves, but the storm keeps going. It never stops. It continuously piles up wreckage at the feet of the angel. And the storm is so powerful that it's forcing the angel back away from the past that the angel would recover or transform. And the wind, the storm is just, it's got the angel's wings open and it's pushing the angel back. And Benjamin in the Shockin translation, he says, this storm, now I can't remember if he says this storm is or this storm we call, but this storm we call progress.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's easy for me to say, who could still believe in progress? I mean, after, you know, 50 plus years of postmodernism, I mean, we've we've put the idea of progress, especially scientific, technological, rationalistic, appropriative, destructive progress pretty much in question, I hope. And then I think about all the tech bros, and I think about the way the society is imagining that it's not even bothering to really imagine in any responsible way, but in some kind of vestigial, like twitchy way, it's imagining that somehow technology is going to save us from global boiling. And it's the tech bros are going to come up with the world's biggest vacuum cleaner and vacuum up all the carbon, and then we'll send it off to Jupiter. And it's just so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about just the economy of language in your work, and talk a little bit about wordplay and how you have managed to fashion the different pieces at different times. I mean, and the process of that, because I so enjoy physically looking at it on the page.
Thank you.
Oh,
thank you. Well, first of all, that's a joy to hear. And of course, I want people to love listening to it. When someone says, "Oh, your poetry is very musical," I feel, grateful that they experience it that way. But I think there's a tension between the way it's dynamic on the page, and I believe it is dynamic on the page, and then the way that spatial form embodies and enacts, the cadences, the rhythms, the rhythmical shifts and control. And then there's a tension between that kind of musical feeling, because it's language is a music, poetry is music, and it's very intuitive. And things like conceptually driven wordplay, or conceptually driven leaps, or associative, but also surrealism teaches us that associative leaping is also a structure of intellect as well as a structure of feeling and sound, that it's a structure of argument. It's like related to the history of rhetoric in the Baroque, it's and in sort of mysticism. So I think that sometimes I plan, sometimes the plan changes, and sometimes there are layers, waves, successive waves of improvisation, but that improvisation is like, it's very wide awake. I mean, I like to feel like I'm reaching into the subconscious, just like many other writers do, and I'm creating, a language that's part realism, part myth, part dream, part auto-critique, part prayer, and all of that is both. It's wide awake and it's a dream. Yeah, I guess it's lucid dreaming or something like that.
Yeah, beautifully put. Would you read some more for us?
Oh, sure. Thank you. I think that I will read some new poems. These are even newer. I mean, The Body Ghost is very new, but I really did just finish it at the very beginning of May. I'm sorry, not The Body Ghost. I misspoke. That was some weird thing. Fire Season is very new. I really did just finish Fire Season at the very beginning of May. So I think that what happened is, many of you who know me know that I'm a pretty obsessive reviser and reshaper and refiner and reinventor of the poems, reimaginer. And I had to stop. I had written the poems. I had sent them to Charles. This was it. We had this reading already planned. Peter and I did. We had various ideas. The book had to be done. So I thought to myself, how am I going to stop writing this book? And I thought the only way I'm going to be able to stop obsessively revising this book, is to immediately start obsessively revising something else. It was just the only way. So I tried to do that. And this is what I came up with. So these poems that I'm about to read come from mostly the summer. They were probably, I mean, I've been fine tuning them in October and right through October. But so they're quite new. Anyway, but I feel like they're very continuous with fire season. I feel like in some ways they just, it's like a similar music played on a very different instrument. Anyway, okay, so here we go. I'm going to read you 5 short poems. And then if Peter wants, I'll read something else, but if not, we'll take more questions, whatever. But here are 5 short poems. Broken. We were ghosts, we were dancers. We were games, we were lies. The waters boil with trash and color. Too late for me, too late to be dead. The waters boil with trash and color. Steal the water, steal the land, chorus of ghouls. Greed is good, greed is now. Greed is holy, you know how. Are we extinct? The colors burn like garbage on fire. We shoot cows in the head. The waters boil with trash and color. We were ghosts, we were dancers. We were games, we were lies. And this is the end. I'm a little scared having written a poem called The End, but I don't know. I thought, well, we'll see what happens. The end. Sleep, I killed the animals. Hope is poison. I lost the sky. I fill my skull with splintered words, lavender sky like whiskey. I'm trying to say fire, to say, look here, we're burning. The eye is my machine. Don't say sweatshops, don't say drones. The fires are burning all the time. I'm trying to say fire, to say, look here, we're burning. Burst of death, sleep. I killed the animals. And just when you thought you would never hear an upbeat poem again, here comes What is Necessary, which is for Donna. Can you slide inside some wind? Can you slide the sun back home? Can you pray inside your play, fray inside your day? You want to kiss electric rain. It's hard to think of anyone but you. Hey, shadows, playing shadows, say the names. I'll try to flow like hair, like gold, like wind. I'll try to glint like birds behind the rain. And then this one is prayer. The rain-washed air, the rain-washed air. Roses, bones and dirt and fire and all the lies in any town. Dearest mother, I can't weep, can't autocorrect. We open sky, dearest mother, I can't go. We don't get out, be prayer. We're waiting to die. God, the rabbit afraid, God, the cat dying, God, are not my days few. Rain slanting, the rain-washed air. And finally, Send My Roots Rain. Presence was broken for a while. Stillness was floating in plaid dark like a promise to the living and the dead, and the most horrible heartburn, and the old couple in the kitchen, lights out, waiting for sound. And the leaves roll just like faces, and the faces blow like thieves, and we all keep our explosions, and you taste joy in the night. And the lost boys answer slowly, and the corpse picks up the phone, and we all claim that we're holy. God won't leave our dreams alone. So, yes.
Wow. Thank you for that, Joseph.
Thank
I'm
you.
thinking, why don't we take some comments or take some questions, and people, instead of posting stuff in the chat, if you just raise your hand, I can unmute you, and then we can just have you talk direct. What do you think, Joseph? Is that okay?
Sounds great. I'm trying to look in the chat, but my eyes aren't.
Yeah, I was having a similar issue. So, so yeah, there's if you use the function kind of in the lower part of your dashboard to raise your hand, I can unmute you once you've done that. If anyone has any thoughts, questions. There are some cool comments, so I can read a few of those while we're waiting. Let's see. Hank says, so great to have this wonderful book in print and to hear you reading from it. Tracy says, love the refrain about global boiling. Had not heard that phrase before. It has that Kenneth Burke, what would call a correct magic, quote unquote. Sarah says, animals have no voice, so thank you for being a voice for them.
No.
Tracy says, did we get the postmodernism we deserved?
Wait, who said that?
Tracy.
Trace.
Or Trace. I'm sorry, Trace.
Did we get the postmodernism we deserved? Well, I mean, did we get the society we deserved? Did we get the Middle Ages we deserved? Did we get the Industrial Revolution we deserved? One thing I really love about, I mean, I guess, if I'm in a certain mood, I'll say, yes, we did, and that's the story. That's the story. And sometimes Walter Benjamin says that too. But that said, one of the things that, it just shook me, because I had been trying to write about global heating, global boiling for a long time. I had been not really, a little bits came into Broken World, especially, and maybe some other places, but it really was like hard. And I remember the poet Taylor Brady, we were talking about both wanting to do it, but Taylor very thoughtfully said, I just don't want to do anything in my poetry that can be done better in journalism. And I thought, well, that's got to be right. I mean, I can't argue with that. But over time, especially after my mother died, strangely, and again, there's a real visceral, emotional, primal connection between my mother's death and the loss of the animals and and she wrote about nature. She wrote poems it's not fair to call her poems nature poems, but she wrote poems that were grounded in nature and in place, and where place inspired voice, and the lake was her mirror. The lake was her voice. She lived right by Lake Michigan in Illinois. And anyway, all of this just made it necessary. I feel like I'm forgetting the question I'm trying to answer. Did we get the postmodernism we deserve? Right. So at a certain point, I picked up a great book that everyone should read, though I'm told he's going back on it now, but I don't care. The book itself is important. David Wallace Wells, The Uninhabitable Earth. I'm sure many of you have read it. He says, I'm paraphrasing, but he's right near the beginning of the book, he says something amazing. He says, it's very easy to think about climate change as the curse, the return of the repressed, the bill coming due. That we made this Faustian bargain in the 18th century, and we invented the steam engine, and we did all the horrible things we did, and now we are trapped. We're absolutely trapped in this. We are paying for the sins of the fathers, et cetera. And it's not that there's no truth to that narrative, but he points out, and this is, just think about this for a second, more than half, and by now it's got to be even more than half of the CO2 in the atmosphere was emitted since the premiere of Seinfeld. I'm not kidding. That's what he says. More than half since the premiere of Seinfeld. So in other words, we did a lot. It wasn't just, the dark satanic mills in Blake's time. We did a lot in our own adult lives. And we can't even quite say we didn't know, because, I mean, front page of the New York Times, 1988, James Hansen was testifying. Gore had brought him to the Senate, and James Hansen was testifying and was saying all this is going to happen. I mean, I know not everybody reads every issue of the New York Times, but we know, Exxon knew since the 60s. Some people knew since the 19th century. I mean, the science was always pretty clear. So anyway, all of which is to say about those of us who have been alive since the premiere of Seinfeld, this is our thing. It's not our only thing, but it's a really, really, really big thing, and it's our thing. So yeah, I guess that's another way of saying we get the postmodernism we deserve, but it's also a way of saying we have agency. We do have minds and souls and hearts and agency.
Yeah. Mark has raised his hand. Mark, I'm going to unmute you now. You need to.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you, Peter. Joseph, I think you might have just answered the question I was going to ask. It wasn't a question from me. It was a question actually that Leslie Tate asked me in an interview. But it says this, and maybe you've answered it, but it says, you mentioned a new note of foreboding in your writing: with climate change already impoverishing the poorest parts of the globe, are poets reduced, this is the thing, to archiving a vanishing lifestyle, or should they be sending up a howl of protest, or even putting aside their poetry to concentrate on collective action to avert catastrophe? So where do you see yourself within the spectrum? That was a question that was asked of me, and I'm asking, and in a way you've started to answer it, but I don't think you've finished your answer. So Congratulations once again. I love you.
Love you too. Love you. Glad you're here. I think, obviously, I haven't stopped writing. So I'm not going to put away poetry. Whatever other collective actions I might be fortunate enough to participate in, and I hope to, I'm not going to stop writing poetry, or at least I don't think I will. And I don't want to. I think a howl of protest is always useful. There's never been, to my knowledge, a time when a howl of protest wasn't appropriate. And it certainly is appropriate now. As far as cataloging, what did he say? Cataloging a dying lifestyle. Cataloging is an interesting word there, right? Because it's like, oh, look, here's here's whatever, the J. Crew catalog, or what's that company? I can't think of their name, but they do like all this sort of high-tech toys, and it's like high-tech Christmas, and it's very smart and upper, but it's not too out of reach. And anyway, yes, consumerism is linked to materialism, which is linked to romanticism, which is linked to narcissism, sociopathic behaviors. I mean, this goes back to Thoreau. It goes back much farther than Thoreau. Goes back to certainly the Renaissance. I don't think that I got a slight whiff from that question and I don't know Leslie Tate, and I send him my best, but I got a slight whiff from that question that he feels like somehow like these choices are somehow degraded choices. They're like steps down from what we poets should be doing. I think there are three decent descriptions of 3 among 100 different things that poets absolutely should be doing. So I guess that's my answer.
We have a few more comments in the chat. Alan says, I had to join late, but I'm always enlivened by your work, Joseph, even or especially at its bleakest. Alan, cut to the bone, eco-poetics without announcing itself as such.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah. I thank you. That's, it's a way of learning to live, and that's it. That eco-poetics has to mean that. You know, it's a way to learning, it's a way of learning that you are alive and learning the conditions of your life. I mean, that's part of what Benjamin is trying to do in the Angel of History, in the theses on history, on the philosophy of history. He, you know, he wants us to see not just the Angel of History passage, but he also, like, he talks about the state of emergency in that essay, and he talks about how we have to understand that the state of emergency is perpetual. It's not actually an exception. And when we come to realize that it's being imposed on us constantly, that we become more capable of participating in history and of yes, of seeing history. And I do think that you know, that's a good way to sort of start to, you know, I don't want to use a grand term like liberate yourself, but at least activate yourself, ourselves. And it really is collective. I mean, this is an issue, you know, one of the things that I think the oil companies, the fossil fuel companies did very, very intentionally was try to make it about individual responsibility. Like, oh, we should recycle. Well, okay, sure, you know, whatever. We should clean up the beach. Yes, we should. We should, you know, there are these millions of things that we were being told we should do individually, and it could make a difference. And we were failures because, and so the fact that we were constantly failing at these tasks that were completely at variance with the ways that consumerism and capitalism insist we live, the fact that we were constantly failing at all these tasks made us identify with the oil companies. Oh, they're like us. We're all failing at this. You know, when actually there are things that have to be done collectively. There are things that have to be done at the level of the society, at the level of government, and even more so at the level of capitalism and at the level of, you know, I think a lot of writers have been very, very good on this subject. Just one book that comes to mind really off the top of my head is, I don't know, it's too optimistic. And I've heard people really come down on it for being so optimistic. But Kim Stanley Robinson's last novel, The Ministry for the Future, it's just so pragmatic. It's so invested in imagining these like real-time, real life adjustments to banking, adjustments to you know, exploration, adjustments to, you know, extracting water from things. I mean, it's just, it's very, very pragmatic and at the same time completely enraged. So I recommend that novel. Yeah, what else are we seeing over here?
All kinds of great comments. Yeah, people are very engaged. A lot of love in the room tonight, Joseph.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Alan, oh, Alan, hi, Alan. Alan says, yes, archiving, documenting. And I think that goes back to the Leslie Tate issues that Mark mentioned. And you know that I was quibbling with Leslie Tate about the word cataloging because I thought of consumerism and I thought of catalogs and, oh, look, you know, the whole earth catalog and, you know, or whatever. But archiving, documenting, and even the catalog, like the catalog of ships in Homer, in the Iliad, it's like, and the catalogs in Whitman, oh my God, all those crazy, just exfoliating and, you know, just these spilling, opening, cascading catalogs of reality that Whitman wanted. You know, yes, we're a lot, I mean, Whitman was more pessimistic than Whitman, but we are way more pessimistic than Whitman. And yet he invents a technology for engagement, you know, really literally in the Sartrean sense, for engagement in so that art can be engaged, and that those catalogs are part of it. They're beautiful. So yeah, I'm in favor. I agree with Alan. Documenting, cataloging, archiving, you know, that's part of what is left to us.
Well, it's inspirational. I think we should start a cataloging section at City Lights. Just one whole case of nothing but catalogs.
I agree. I agree.
Well, we find ourselves at the top of the hour. Joseph, thank you so much for fire season, and thank you so much for letting us into your living room.
Yes, welcome to our living room, everybody. And Peter, thank you so much for making this happen. It's been a joy, and I really appreciate you and everything that City Lights does for poetry, for radical thought in the Bay Area and around the world. And I'm so grateful to be part of it. And
enjoy.
Thanks to everybody who came.
Such a joy. Thank you all. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I posted links with which you may buy the book and also other books by Joseph. And, please come on down, browse our stacks. We have one of the largest poetry selections in the country, if not actually on the continent. So love to see you. We're open 7 days a week. We are closed Thanksgiving and closed Christmas, but we are open pretty much the rest of the year, 10 to 10, getting back to our pre-pandemic hours. So this event has been made possible by the City Lights Foundation, keeping me dutifully employed and also continuing the legacy of our founder, the late Lawrence Ferlinghetti, into the future. So thank you all. Hope to see you all again soon. Please be well.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Peter.